Hey, I'm just a dude practicing, and this is my monthly progress report for March 1st, 2024, where I'm just going to go over what I'm working on, how things are going, what's improved, some challenges I'm dealing with, and the idea is to do this on the first of every month for ever, and that way later on I can look back and get motivated watching my former self struggle with things that are now, a few years from now, very, very easy, I hope. So am I better than I was a month ago? I've practiced about 58 hours in the last month, 2 hours a day. Yeah, I think so. I think this practice schedule I'm on is improving my playing big time. It's actually, today I uploaded the 100th practice session since starting the channel, which is kind of cool. It's just a coincidence that it falls on the progress report day. So a few changes I've noticed. Like I mentioned in the last progress report, the strings feel softer. The guitar is more comfortable to hold. And a really big one is that areas of the neck have really opened up. Meaning, even a month ago, 6 weeks ago, I would look at the neck or look down at it, and there were blind spots. There were sort of blank areas that I never really messed with. Right? They were outside of the normal frets. And now when I look at it, kind of every part of the neck has some sort of association. Obviously, I haven't exhausted the possibilities, and my lick knowledge and all that is still pretty limited, but it's a new feeling to have played something in every position. I'm also more familiar with the cycle of fourths, with 2-5-1s, all that. I have a long way to go, but it's getting there and it feels nice. So here's what I'm working on. I said it last time. I'm working on the Van Hamert system. Christian Van Hamert made this system for soloing in jazz and gypsy jazz, and he's about to put out his fourth book, and I'm doing the second one. And how it works is each chapter has a set of licks. So the first chapter is major licks, the second chapter is minor, third chapter is dominant licks, fourth, fifth, and sixth are major 2-5-1s, etc. And the goal is to pass each chapter. And the way you pass is you play that chapter's licks as a set in all 12 keys over these backing tracks that he's provided. And you can hear the backing tracks in some of the videos in today's practice too. I wasn't using my AirPods for the whole thing. You could actually hear what it is I'm listening to if it's not a metronome. So I passed chapter 1. Oh, and then, so what you do is you send that video to him and he looks at it and he says, pass or not, and gives some advice, which is really cool. So I passed the first chapter on February 6th, the second chapter February 17th, third chapter February 18th, and then chapters 4 and 5 are much more difficult. Basically they're just faster. They have these triplet licks that I'm not used to playing so quickly. You're supposed to do it at 170 beats per minute. So that's mainly where I'm spending my time, is just trying to get those licks up to speed. And again, you can see every moment of the work I'm putting in. It's just a lot of repetition, a lot of metronome work, a lot of backing track work. When I have my AirPods in, that I'm 95% of the time I'm listening to either the metronome or the backing track. Unless I'm playing that really slowly, in which case I'm just trying to figure out the licks. So yeah, the real challenge right now is speed and double downstrokes, you call them. So in gypsy jazz picking or gypsy picking, one of the fundamentals, one of the basics is that every time you change strings, you play a downstroke on the new string. It doesn't matter how fast you're going, doesn't matter what you just played before that, change strings should be a downstroke. And at 170 beats per minute with triplets, it can get pretty challenging, at least for me, because I haven't done it too much. So yeah, that and stamina is an issue, right? If you're playing, say, 6 licks in all 12 keys, it takes, depending on the set I'm working on, it can take 7 minutes. And that's like a full-on 7 minutes. So it can get a little messy at the end. But yeah, that is what I'm working on, and I'll touch on some other stuff in a minute. So here are a few things I've changed over the last month. First, I put the towel back into the body. I get a lot of questions, a lot of comments saying, what's with the tape and the cardboard? It's actually a cork coaster from IKEA, if anyone wants to try it. And inside I have a microfiber towel stuffed in there. And that's just keeping the noise down for family, cats, for neighbors right outside the window, and also for me. Like, these strings are pretty piercing, and I don't want to mess up my right eardrum. So yeah, I put that back in. Another thing I started doing, I sit on this now when I practice. And so the first two sets, the two chapters that I passed, when I sent Christian Van Hammer the videos, he commented that it looks like there's a lot of tension in my wrist, and it could be the way that I'm sitting. So this couch is pretty low, which means my knees are higher than my butt, which puts the guitar up kind of high, and somehow that causes tension in the wrist. So I thought I should probably try sitting up a little bit higher. So I've been sitting on that. That's been a change, and I've had to get used to it because it changes the angles, the angles of my arms and all that in relation to the guitar. So started doing that. Another thing, I was doing this thing called the ELO or ELO challenge, another Van Hammer thing. Like I said in the last progress report, I'm kind of in the Christian Van Hammer world right now. The ELO challenge is a set of 10 licks, and it's just a way to kind of grade yourself and see where you're at. You get points for how cleanly you can play all 10, and they're just like really fast and a great way to work in technique. So I was starting each session with, say, 10-20 minutes of the ELO challenge, and I decided to drop it because it's way beyond me right now. I felt like I was trying to run before I could walk, and the stuff in the book that I'm working on is enough for now, technique-wise. Like, it's enough of a challenge that I just felt the ELO challenge, which is free, by the way. If you look up Christian Van Hammer and ELO challenge, he has a couple of videos where he has the backing track, he has the licks, he goes through them. So that's all. The book is paid, but the ELO challenge is for free. So I thought it'd be a good way to develop my technique, but I decided to drop it and just focus exclusively on the book content. A little more manageable, more my speed for now. Another thing, so I've been playing 2 hours a day. I've been thinking about increasing the time. So I wanted to add like 5-10 minutes to the end of each session. Turns out I'm usually too spent to do that. So I normally cap it off at around 2 hours and 2 or 3 minutes. I was trying to do 2 hours and 10, 2 hours 15. A little too much for now. Another thing, my GoPro started going haywire a couple of weeks ago. Suddenly, like, the screen would distort, and then it would jump up to the corner of the room, and what I can see on the screen and what you'd be able to see. So if I seem to look at the camera a lot when I'm practicing, it's because I'm worried that it's going to start doing that again. And it turns out getting in touch with GoPro is very difficult and takes many hours. By the way, I have notes here. That's why I keep looking off to the side, because I don't want to ramble too much. Another thing, I've had a few comments, and I was kind of aware of it, but someone else has pointed it out too, that my fingers kind of flail a lot. Like when I lift up off the fretboard, especially in the lower frets, there's just a lot of movement, and it doesn't look economical. It doesn't look very good. It doesn't look very fluid. So I've been trying to work on that, which is a challenge, because naturally my fingers just like want to do this. They want to spread and be free. So I've been trying to work on that, trying to work on thumb placement. A lot of great players, their thumb kind of peeks over the fretboard, and I've always had this habit of keeping it down towards the bottom or in the middle. So I'm trying to work on that, and it does feel better. It just takes some getting used to. Another thing, again, no one needs to watch this. This is just for my future self. But I had this great plan to split my practice days into day 1 and day 2. Because I've been thinking about, I'm learning all these licks, but I'm not applying them to solos. And the idea was to have day 1 as lick application. I take the licks that I'm learning and I start applying them to songs, trying to figure out songs, connecting them and taking bits and pieces and rearranging them. And day two was going to be book exercises only. It sounded great in theory to have this holistic approach, but I abandoned it. I abandoned it after one day because I just don't like. How can I say this? Again, there's no editing here, so bear with me or skip forward when I start to trail off too much. I just want to practice in big focused chunks. Like I've spent my entire guitar, not career, but hobby, I guess, trying to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I know the mountain of stuff that I don't know how to do. I'm aware of its presence. So I just want to slowly master everything at once. And it doesn't work for me. So I decided I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to focus on the book. And when I tried to spend one day, every other day working on lick application, I just couldn't focus because all I wanted to do was get back to the book and finish that one thing. I mean, the practical side is that it's kind of hard to apply licks if you're only vaguely familiar with them, right? If they're not in your fingers, if they're not automatic, because now you're adding layers, right? Now it's like, okay, well, I'm kind of familiar with this lick. Oh, this song could use that lick. Oh, there's a substitution thing that I could do. Wait, what was the lick again? How did the substitution go? Wait, is this the right fingering? This is too much. So I thought I'll focus on the book. I will be able to play them, all this material, physically be able to play it, know the mechanics, have it memorized before I try to apply it. And that just works for me. So I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. So I abandoned a 2-day split, and now it's just one thing only. Another thing, there's a community tab on YouTube, and I never really knew what it was for, but I decided to start posting comments and my replies there. So when people comment on videos, there's so many videos, and there's all these great comments are spread out everywhere. So I thought it'd be cool to have them all in one place. So I capture them and I put them in the community tab. I don't know if you can see it if you're not a subscriber. I can't see it on my phone because I'm not logged in. So I don't know if it's the same for everyone else. That's not a plea for you to subscribe. I don't care. This is just a dude practicing, so it doesn't really matter. But just know that that's there. If you want to see a bunch of interesting comments, go for it. There's some nice ones. There's some interesting ones. So where else? What else did I want to say? Why I love practicing. I do love practicing. I've come to love it. And really for one reason, just the joy of progress. I've never practiced this much in my life, and I've been frustrated with guitar since I started. And now that I'm doing what I think is a decent amount of work, not the most, there are people who do 4 to 8 hours a day. But yeah, I think I'm doing a decent amount of work, and there is slight progress every day. There are good days and bad days, but it's a jagged line upwards. And it's just really nice knowing that the thing I can't play today, I will be able to play it eventually if I keep hammering on it. So, progress feels slow, but in retrospect, it's kind of fast. So I'll give you an example. The Van Hamer book, when I first look at a new chapter, a lot of the licks don't make sense to me. When I play them slowly and I'm trying to figure them out, I don't hear them as music, right? I don't get what they're trying to say. The picking is weird, the fingering is weird. And with the faster licks, like these triplet licks that I'm working on for chapters 4 and 5, I kind of, when I saw chapter 5, the last lick, and you can see it, like I said, on today's video, it's this really fast triplet lick. I was like, this is unplayable for me. I guess chapter 4 will be the last chapter of the book I'm able to do until next year. But I started working on it slowly, just kind of, let's see how far I can take it before I give up and, move on to something else. And within, I don't know, less than 2 weeks, I'm able to play it at 170 beats per minute, which is the goal. Not always cleanly, but that's really, really encouraging, right? It's really motivating. So again, the reason I love practice, I've come to love practicing, is just knowing that it will pay off eventually. I mean, I know that's obvious, but until you experience it yourself, it doesn't really. It's just words. Let's see. Okay, we'll get into the actual progress report bit where I wanted to be a month ago. So a month ago, my last progress report, I said for the next month, meaning February, I want to be consistent. I want to keep playing 2 hours a day, and that was it. That was the one thing I wanted to do, and I haven't missed a day, which is really cool. The last day I didn't practice was January 6th. So I'm on a roll, which is really nice. So success, A+ there. How the last month has gone, I mean, you can probably tell. I think it's gone really well. Obviously, I'm far away from where I want and need to be, but I think I've done an adequate amount of work. I sit down, I focus, I struggle, I work at the edge of my abilities. That's why there's a lot of frustration on my face, and some of the things I say. I say "yikes" a lot, I've noticed, meaning I've made a mistake. So yeah, I think the last month has gone pretty well. Where I want to be a month from now. So obviously I want to keep consistent. I want to play 2 hours a day. Maybe bump it up a little bit. I don't want to go too hard, lest I destroy the whole system. But I'd like to finish the book. I am not too far away. So a month from now, I'd like to finish the book, but just with the learning of the licks and doing the set exercises part, right? Passing all the chapters. And then I get into the real work, which will be soloing with this material. So right now, I don't know how to solo with the material. I mean, I can kind of figure it out, but there are still a lot of gaps in knowledge and in immediate application. Like if I hear a backing track or I know the chords to a song, I can kind of, some things come to me, but there's still a lot of things I'm not sure about, like substitutions, connections between licks. What if I have a 4-bar lick, but I only need 1 bar? Like, can I take any bar and will it work over the chord that I need it to work over? Just, there are a lot of pieces that I'm not sure about. So in the next month, I'd like to start doing that. Finish the book, pass all the chapters, and start doing the thing that I'm trying to do, which is learning how to solo well enough that I can start gigging eventually. So yeah, in the next 4 weeks, maybe the last few days of March, I'll get there. But we'll see. I don't really care if it takes longer, because I'm just going to keep going no matter what. And again, eventually I'll get there. I think that's it. If I missed anything, oh well, that was long enough. We're at 18 minutes. So if you have questions, comments, if you need some motivation, just get in touch. I love comments. The first thing I do in the morning is check YouTube to see if anyone has commented. I know that sounds needy, and maybe it is. Anyway, go practice. I will see you tomorrow.